Welcome to A-Level and AP Physics. In today's lesson, we will discuss past paper questions from March 2024, paper 1. As always we do, we will discuss these questions in detail so you can improve your conceptual understanding of physics and also you can have better understanding of these exam questions. Let's study together, let's improve together. Question 1 says, which row shows a physical quantity and its base unit in SI system? System International. In System International, we have 7 SI base quantities and also we have 7 SI base units. Now, if you look at given quantities, current, this is SI base quantity, force is not SI base quantity, mass is SI base quantity, temperature is SI base quantity. Now if you look at the units, unit of current is ampere and ampere is also SI base unit. Newton is not SI base unit. Gram is also not SI base unit. Degree Celsius is also not SI base unit. So the answer for this question has to be A. Question 2 says a car of mass 850 kg is traveling in a horizontal straight line. The diagram shows the two horizontal forces acting on the car in opposite directions. One force has magnitude 1200 newtons and other force has magnitude 1600 newtons. What is the magnitude of acceleration of the car? So we need to calculate acceleration of the car. So simply you need to understand F net, this is equal to ma. So in this case F net is in this direction because this force is greater. So simply we can say F net in this case will be equal to 1600 minus 1200. So this is equal to 400 newtons and this force is to the left. So simply we can say F net is equal to 400 and mass is 850 kgs. We need to find value of A. So A from here we can say will be equal to 400 divided by 850 kgs. So the final answer will be 0.47 meters per second per second. So this is acceleration. So this is how you can calculate acceleration. Quite straightforward question. The most common mistake among students is they don't understand this one. This is the single force. Single force means this is the vector sum of all the forces acting on the body. So this is vector sum. Mean this is single force that can replace all the forces acting on the body. That single force we call is resultant force. Question 3 says an object of mass m is suspended by a spring from a fixed point. The spring has spring constant k. The object is set into vertical oscillations of period capital T. Which equation for T is homogeneous with respect to base units? So what is meaning of homogeneous? Homogeneous means that each term in the equation has the same units. So this is first thing, has the same units. So this is meaning of homogeneous in a very simple way. Homogeneous. Example of homogeneous equation is V is equal to U plus AT. So we can see the unit of V is meters per second and unit of U is also meters per second. Then unit of A is meters per second and unit of time is second. So from here we can say we have meters per second, here we have meters per second. So you can see here each term has the same units. So it means this is homogeneous equation. Now we need to look at these given options and we need to find out which equation is homogeneous. Now we have K first of all. So we can say K is equal to F over delta X. F is the force, so this is mg divided by delta X. So mg in this case, unit of m is kgs, unit of g is meters per second and unit of delta x is also meter. So we can cancel meter with meter, so we can say unit of k is kgs per second square in terms of base units. Now here we have k over m, here we have m over k, and here we have k over m again. So this is k over m, and here we have m over k. Now first of all we will look at k over m. If we have k over m, we will have kgs per second square kgs per second square divided by kgs. So what we will get in this case, per second square. So this is not unit of time. Per second square is not unit of time. It means k by m. We can simply cancel. So A and C, they are not possible answer. So the answer can be B or answer can be D. So let me clean this one. So these two are possible answers. So we can write on here m over k. Here we have kgs. This is divided by kgs per second square. We can cancel kgs with kgs. So here we will get second square. So we need root of this one. So if we have root of this, our answer will be equal to second. So it means this is right answer. So this is also not possible because it has no square root. And 2 pi is a constant. It has no units. So the answer for this question has to be D. Question 4 says an object of fixed mass is initially at rest at point P. The object then moves away from point P with uniform acceleration. Which statement describes the resultant force acting on the object when it is moving? So for this question we need to understand it is given to us uniform acceleration. So simply you can use F net is equal to ma. Mass is constant, acceleration is constant, it means F net is also constant. So if you look at given options, it is given to us it increases uniformly. This is not possible. It is increasing. It has to be constant. Uniform acceleration means that acceleration is constant. It is constant but not zero. Yes, this is possible answer. It is not zero because acceleration is not zero. So resultant force is also not zero, but resultant force is constant. So B is possible answer. It is proportional to the displacement from point P. This is incorrect. It is not proportional to displacement. It is proportional to acceleration. But in this case, it is constant. Acceleration is constant, resultant force is also constant. So this is incorrect. It is zero, this is incorrect. So the answer is B. Question 5 says a projectile is launched at an angle of 25 degrees to the horizontal with a horizontal component of velocity of 13 meters per second. What is the vertical component of the velocity of the projectile when it is launched? So for this purpose, simply we can imagine this is our launch point. And from this point we can draw this arrow. So this is representing the velocity of this projectile. And this projectile, it has two components, so we can use different colors. So it has one horizontal component, so we can draw here. So this is representing horizontal component, and we have one vertical component. So this is representing vertical component. We can also draw arrows here. So this is horizontal component, this is vertical component. We can also assume this velocity is v. The initial velocity is v. And angle of projection is given to us, means the launch angle is given to us, that is equal to 25 degrees. We can say this vertical component is vy and horizontal component is vx. And vx will be equal to v cosine of 25 degrees, and magnitude of this one is equal to 13 meters per second. We need to find out what is value of vy. So we can answer this question in a different ways, but this is multiple choice exam, so we have to be smart enough to answer these questions quickly. So the quickest way to answer this question is simply we can say tangent of 25 degrees means tangent of this angle. This has to be equal to vy divided by vx. And value of vx we have, so we can say this is vy divided by vx, and vx is 13. So simply vy in this case will be equal to 13 times tangent of 25 degrees. We can use bracket here. Now if we solve this one, we will get 6.06. So up to 2sf, as given data has 2sf, so we can simply say this is 6.1 meters per second. So simply you have to use tangent of 25 degrees is equal to this one, and you can find value of Vy. This is a smart way, but also you can figure out value of V from here. Then you can also find the value of Vy. For example, if you have value of V from here, so we have Vx, so you can say V cosine of 25 degrees, this is equal to 13, so you can find value of V, that will be equal to 13 divided by cosine of 25. You will get one answer here, and then you can write down Vy. This will be equal to V square minus Vx square. So we have answer of V here. Vx we have, that is 13, and if you solve this one, again your answer should be 6.1 meters per second. So this is alternate method, means alternate approach to answer this question. So the answer for this question should be B. So this is the right answer. And also, if these videos are helping you to improve your conceptual understanding of physics, please like and subscribe, because your encouragement is very important. Question 6 says a ball is released from rest at position X at time 0. At 1.0 seconds, it bounces in elastically from horizontal surface and rebounds, reaching the top of its first bounce at 1.5 seconds. What is the total displacement of the ball from its original position X at 1.5 seconds? Question is simply telling us we have, first of all, position X. We can say this is X, and we can say time here t0. This is equal to 0 seconds. Ball is released and initial speed of the ball is equal to 0. You can also see from here. So this ball will go down, it will hit this surface, and this will bounce back. And here value of t1 is given, that is equal to 1.0 second. And it rises to certain height. So we can say here we have value of time t2, that is equal to 1.5 seconds. We need to find out this value of delta x. And area under velocity time graph, it represents displacement. So this area is representing displacement. So this is change in position, so this is also displacement. So delta x simply will be equal to the difference between these two. And this area, if we calculate this area, we have 10 here, so this is 10, and here we have 1. So this area will be equal to 10 times 1.0 divided by 2 minus this area. So we have 0.5, this is 0.5, and here we have 5, and this is divided by 2 because this is triangle. And if we solve this one, here we will get 5, and here we will get 1.25, and if we simplify, we will get 3.75 meters. So this is the final answer. So the answer for this question should be B. Question 7 says what is definition of acceleration? So simply we can say acceleration is equal to delta v over delta t, and this is a vector quantity, and this is also vector quantity. So we can define acceleration rate of change of velocity, and we need to understand velocity is a vector quantity, so it has direction and it also has magnitude. So body can have acceleration only due to change in direction, as we see in case of circular motion. Body also can have acceleration due to change in magnitude of velocity. So acceleration can be due to change in direction. Acceleration also can be due to change in magnitude. So how we can define acceleration? Acceleration is rate of change of velocity, or we can say change in velocity per unit time. So if you look at given options, option A is correct because this is change in velocity per unit time, but this is not rate of change of speed. This is only telling you one part of this one, means the magnitude is changing. So this is not complete definition of acceleration. So this is incorrect. Rate of change of velocity. Rate of change of velocity, this is telling us we have delta v over delta t divided by delta t. So this is not acceleration. Resultant force per unit mass. So acceleration is not defined, resultant force per unit mass. So this option is also incorrect. So the best answer for this question is A. So this is best possible answer. Question 8 says two balls P and Q of equal mass move along a straight line directly towards each other as shown in the figure. Ball P has velocity 1.30 meters per second to the right and ball Q has velocity 0.50 meters per second to the left. P and Q collide with one another, the collision is perfectly elastic and the total momentum is conserved. Which diagram correctly shows the motion of P and Q after the collision? So for this question it is given to us, this is perfectly elastic collision. So the smart way to answer these questions is simply we can use a relative speed of approach has to be equal to relative speed of separation, and this is only true if collision is perfectly elastic. So relative speed of approach has to be equal to relative speed of separation if it is perfectly elastic collision. So we can say relative speed of separation. So simply we can write on here relative speed of separation. Most of the time, means sometimes, most of the students, they struggle with this concept to understand what is relative speed of approach and what is relative speed of separation. So first of all, let's try to understand this concept a little bit. Imagine that we have two balls. Let's say this is ball 1 and this is ball 2. This ball has initial velocity u1, this one has u2, and after collision, ball 1 has velocity v1 and ball 2 it has velocity v2, and they're just moving to the right. All of them, they're just moving in one direction. So in this case, the relative speed of approach, if this is perfectly elastic collision, it has to be equal to relative speed of separation. So how we can write down relative speed of approach for these two balls? So in this case, approaching speed is u1 minus u2. So u1 minus u2. And how about this one? Relative speed of separation, that has to be equal to v2 minus v1. So this is how you can write down for this one. Now we will write down the same formula here. We will write down u1 minus u2. This one has to be equal to v2 minus v1. And this is only true if all of them, they are moving to the right. So as in this case, this is moving to the right, so simply we can say this is 1.30. So this is positive and negative sign here, and this is moving to the left. So we can say this is 0.50. And for the second part, simply we can say v2 minus v1. So here, if we add these two together, so we have 1.30. So this is 1.30 plus we have 0.50. So this is the final relative speed of approach. And relative speed of separation means v2 minus v1 also has to be equal to this number. Now if you look at given options, for example for this one, you can see they are moving in the same direction. It means 0.52 minus 0.22, this is not equal to this. So for this one, relative speed of separation will be equal to 0.58 minus we have 0.22. Actually, I'm explaining these things in detail so you can have better understanding. When your concepts are clear in physics once, then these questions are just a piece of cake. How about this one? What is relative speed of separation of this one? So if we write down for this one, so you see we have 0.40 v2 minus this one. So it means relative speed of separation in this case is equal to 0 because they have the same speed. So this will be equal to 0. And in this case, what is relative speed of separation? That will be equal to 0.99. This is positive, and minus we will have this value, and this is minus 0.19, and answer is not equal to this one. So it means this is also not possible. Now if you look at this one, so relative speed of separation in this case, we will have this is over v2, so this is 1.30 minus into we have minus 0.50. So in this case we will get 1.30 plus 0.50. So the answer for this question is this one. So you can follow this formula all the time, but you need to understand this is based on one assumption. Means the balls are just moving in one direction, mean they're moving to the right. And then you can change these signs, mean these signs depending on they're moving in the same direction or they're not moving in the same direction. I hope no more fear of relative speed of approach and relative speed of separation. So simply what you need to do is you have to use this formula. Then if ball is moving to the left, velocity of that ball will be negative. And you can plug in values here and you can find the answer. I hope it makes sense. If this makes sense, please like and subscribe, and also if you need more help, you can join Patreon. Question 9 says a basketball player hits a ball vertically downwards with a speed of 2.4 meters per second from a height of 0.90 meters. Air resistance is negligible. What is the speed of the ball as it hits the ground? Little bit tricky but quite straightforward question. So the best way to answer this question is you can sketch first of all. So it is given to us initial speed u, that is equal to 2.4 meters per second. We can also imagine this one is the ground, so you can draw here, this is the ground, and the height from the ground is given, so we can say this is the height, so this is delta h, and the value of this one is equal to 0.90 meters. We need to find out speed of the ball when it just gonna hit at this point, or you can say when just hit that instant, what is the speed? That value of v we need to find out. So this is the question. Now in this case, as there is no air resistance, so the acceleration has to be equal to g. So simply we can use v square is equal to u square plus 2as, and in this case we will take downwards as positive. You can also take upward positive, result will be the same, but for simplicity we are taking downward as positive, so our answer will be positive. If you take up is positive, it means your answer of v will be negative because the velocity is down, so answer has to be negative, but we will be using downward positive, so answer will be positive. So this is a better way to answer this one. So in this case, value of u is given, that is 2.4, so this is 2.4 square, plus we have 2 and a is 9.81 and s is given to us delta h, that is 0.90. So we need to find out value of v, so simply v will be equal to 2.4 square plus we have 9.81 multiplied by 2 times 0.90. Simply take square root of this one, then positive value we have to keep because velocity is downwards, and if we solve this, our answer will be 4.8 meters per second, and this velocity is down. So the answer for this question has to be B. Question 10 says a ball falls through a liquid at a constant speed. It is acted upon by three forces: an upthrust, a drag force, and its weight. The liquid has a uniform density. Which statement is correct? In order to answer this question, first of all, simply we can imagine this is liquid. So we can imagine this is liquid and the ball is falling through this liquid. So we can imagine the ball is here, somewhere here. Ball is falling down and the speed of the ball is constant. So we can write down first of all upthrust. How do we calculate upthrust? Upthrust is equal to weight of the fluid displaced. So we can say this is equal to density of the fluid, volume displaced of the fluid. So volume displaced of fluid times g. So in this case, as the ball is already fully submerged in the liquid, so it means density is constant because it is given to us, density is uniform. Volume displaced is constant, g is constant. So it means upthrust is not changing. The second force we have the weight. Weight is equal to m times g. So in this case, m, mass of the ball, is constant, g is constant. It means weight is also not changing. The last force we have is the drag force. Drag force is equal to 6 pi eta rv. in this case, eta is the viscosity of the liquid, this is property of the liquid, and property of the liquid is not changing in this case. R is the size of the ball, mean radius of the ball, that is also not changing, and V is the speed of the ball, that is also constant. It means drag force is also constant. So these three forces are very important. You need to understand when these forces will stay constant and when these forces will change. So every year there will be question about this. So these formulae are important. You need to understand if these quantities are constant, it means upthrust is constant. If these quantities are constant, it means weight is constant. And if these quantities are constant, it means drag force is constant. So this is the main concept. You need to understand when these forces will change and when these forces will stay constant. Now if you look at given options, it is given to us drag force increases. Incorrect, it stays constant. So it has to be constant here, it stays constant. Drag force is equal to the sum of the upthrust and weight. No. So when this is falling down, if we draw the forces on this one, so you can see here weight is acting down, so the weight is down as the ball is moving down, so the drag force has to be up. So we can say this is the drag force, and upthrust is always in upward direction, so upthrust here we can draw, so this is upthrust, so this is up. So it means in this case weight is equal to drag force plus upthrust. So this is another point you need to understand. And this is telling us drag force is equal to the sum of upthrust and weight. This is incorrect. So this is incorrect, is also incorrect. Upthrust is constant within increasing depth. Yes, it is constant. So it means this is right answer. This is correct option. The weight is greater than the sum of the drag force and the upthrust. No, weight is equal to sum of these two forces because the speed is constant. So there is no resultant force. So this option is also incorrect. I hope this question makes sense. I hope this video makes sense. And I'm also hoping these videos are helping you to improve your understanding of physics. Please like and subscribe, because if you like and subscribe, that is kind of encouragement for your teacher. So I will be more motivated to make more videos for you. And also, if possible, please share with your friends. And also, if you have any questions, you can leave in comments and I will try to answer as soon as possible. And if you're looking for extra help and more guidance and more resources, you can join Patreon. See you next video. Welcome to A-Level and AP Physics. In today's lesson, we will discuss past paper questions from March 2024, Paper 1, Variant 2. As always we do, we will discuss these questions in detail so you can improve your conceptual understanding of physics and also you can have better understanding of these exam questions. Let's study together, let's improve together. Question 11 says some small solid cubes each have mass 1.0 kg and sides of length 5.0 centimeters. These small cubes are stacked together to form a large solid cube with sides of length 2.0 meters. What is the weight of the large cube? So in order to answer this question, first of all, we can simply sketch. You can simply imagine we have this small cube. So this small cube we have, simply we can sketch here. So this is small cube. Mass of this small cube, m is equal to 1.0 kgs, and the sides of this cube, mean each side is 5.0 centimeters, or simply we can say 5 times 10 to minus 2 meters. And we can also imagine we have one large cube. So this one is the large cube. So we can also sketch this one. So this is representing large cube. So this one is the large cube. And each side of this one, so let's say this L, this is equal to 2.0 meters. And we need to calculate what is the weight of this one. what is the weight. But in this case, we need to understand they are made of the same material. It means they have the same density. So from here we can simply use the concept density is the same. So we can say as they have the same density, we can write down here same density. It means the ratio between mass of one and the volume of one, means the m1 over v1. This has to be equal to m2 over v2. So from here simply we can find out value of m2 means the mass of this cube. So we are saying mass of this one is m2, mass of this one is m1. So from here we can write down m, the mass of this cube, we can say m1 over v1 times v2. This is equal to m2. So mass of small cube is 1 kgs and the volume of small cube is 5 times 10 to minus 2 and the cube of this one, cube of this, multiplied by the volume of large cube. Now from here we can find out the mass. If we solve this one, we will get the mass is equal to 64,000 kgs. So this one is the mass. So this is how quickly you can find out. So this is the mass. But we need to find out the weight. So weight will be equal to m2 times g. m2 is 64,000 multiplied by 9.81. And if we simplify this one, we will get 6.3 times 10 to 5. And we can write down this one in this form. We can say 6.3 times 10 to minus 1 times 10 to 1 times 10 to 5. So we can write on here 0.63, mean if we combine these two together, we can write on 0.63 here. If we combine these two together, we can write on 10 to 6. So simply we can say this is 0.63 mega newtons. So this is the final answer. So the answer for this question has to be C. Question 12 says a borehole of depth 2000 meters contains both oil and water as shown in the figure. The pressure due to the liquids at the bottom of the borehole is 17.5 megapascals. The density of the oil is 830 kgs per cubic meter and density of water is 1000 kgs per cubic meter. What is the depth x of the oil? Means we need to find out what is value of x. Now first of all we need to understand what is value of P at this point. So we can say this value of P, this is P total, and value of this one is given to us, that is 17.5 megapascals. Now we need to understand pressure at this point is due to pressure of water and due to pressure of oil. So simply we can say P total. So we can say P total is equal to P due to water plus P of oil. So we can simply write on here. So we have value of P total, that is 17.5 megapascals, 10 to 6, and pressure due to water, that will be equal to rho GH. So this is density of water, this is height of water, plus we have density of oil G, and this is height of oil. So in this case we can write down HW, mean this height, we are talking about this height, HW. HW we can say this is equal to 2000 meters minus x. Now simply we can plug in values and we can find out value of x. So density of water is given, that is equal to 1000, and value of G is 9.81 and HW is 2000 minus x, plus we have density of oil, so this is density of oil multiplied by 9.81 multiplied by x. So this is x. We need to find out value of x. So here we have 17.5 times 10 to 6. So we can simplify this one. So we can simplify, if we simplify this part, we will get 1000 multiplied by 2000 multiplied by 9.81 and here we will get minus, we will get 1000 multiplied by 9.81 multiplied by x, and here we will have 830 times 9.81 times x. So this is in terms of x, and here we have 17.5 times 10 to 6. So we can say we have 17.5 times 10 to 6 minus this value, we have 1000 multiplied by 2000 multiplied by 9.81, and from here we can take common. Actually x is common, so we can write down 830 times 9.81 minus, we can say this is 1000 times 9.81, and the common, this one is x. I hope you can see from here, as 1000 is greater, so it means we will get negative here, and also we will get negative here, so negative will be cancelled. So x from here you will get, that will be equal to 17.5 times 10 to 6 minus, we have 1000 multiplied by 2000 multiplied by 9.81. you can use bracket here, and this whole is divided by 830 times 9.81 minus 1000 times 9.81. So if we solve, we will get value of x, and value of x in this case will be about 1270 meters. So this is how you can answer. Nice question. If your basic concept is clear, if you have got this point, means the P total is the sum of P due to water and P due to oil. That is the main concept. Rest is just simplification. I hope this question makes sense. Question 13 says a rod is pivoted at one end. Initially the angle theta of the rod to the horizontal is 0 degrees. The weight of the rod causes a moment capital M about the pivot. The rod is then rotated in the vertical plane so that the angle theta of the rod increases from 0 degrees to 180 degrees. Which graph shows the variation of M with theta? It is given to us initial angle with horizontal is 0 degrees. So simply first of all we can draw this line, and this line is representing our rod, and the pivot is at one end. We can also imagine center of mass is located at the center of this one, and this is mg, and this distance from center of mass to the pivot, we can also assume this distance is d. So this is the distance from center of mass, because in this case moment is caused by the weight of the rod. So this is distance from center of mass. So what is moment in this case? So moment will be equal to force times perpendicular distance between line of action of the force and the pivot. So this is line of action of the force and this is pivot. So this distance we have to take. So this is initial moment. Now we increase the angle. So we increase angle. So this is how we increase angle. Now we can assume this angle is theta. So this angle is theta. So in this case, which distance we have to take? So you can see in this case the rod has center of mass, for example it is at this point, so it will go to this point here now. So the center of mass will be somewhere here. So we can say mg is acting here. So we have to take this distance now, this distance. So what is this distance? If this is this distance, little bit messy. If this distance is d, so how about this perpendicular distance? This one, I hope you will say this is d cosine of theta. So we can say m is equal to mg times d times cosine of theta. So you can see here mgd, they are constant. So it means these three quantities, they are constant. So what will be the shape of the graph? So it simply means that m is equal to some constant, we can say k times cosine of theta. It simply means that graph has to be cosine graph and initial value has to be maximum. So this is maximum. So when theta is 0 degrees, cosine is maximum, and when theta is 90 degrees, means when the rod is at this point, moment has to be 0. And when the rod, we are rotating rod from here, so as angle is increasing, cosine of theta is decreasing. Finally, when the rod is here, cosine of 90 0, so moment has to be 0. So this is, we see moment is equal to 0 here. And then if we increase angle, moment will go on increasing, but its direction is opposite. And finally here it will be maximum again, but it will be negative. So simply you need to understand the shape of the graph has to be cosine graph here, and it has to start from maximum. So this is the answer. So simply you need to figure out this point. So this is what you need to figure out. If you have figured out this one, quickly you can answer this question. I hope this question makes sense. If this question was clear to you and these videos are helping you, please like and subscribe, because your encouragement is very important. More encouragement, more videos. See you in next video. Welcome to A-Level and EP Physics. In today's lesson, we will discuss past paper questions from March 2024, Paper 1, Variant 2. As always we do, we will discuss these questions in detail so you can improve your conceptual understanding of physics, and also you can have better understanding of these exam questions. Let's study together, let's improve together. First of all, let me explain you a little bit about physics, how you can improve your understanding of physics. If you really wanna improve your understanding of physics, you need to adjust the way you study physics. I have seen many students, they spend a lot of time on physics, but they don't improve with time. They don't have clear understanding of physics. And they stuck with questions again and again, with same type of questions. The reason is that the way they study physics, that is not correct. So the correct way of studying physics is, first of all, derive equations and try to understand the logic behind equations. So this is one suggestion. And then when you do questions by yourself. Try one time, second time, and try to figure out where you are making mistakes. And then look at the mark scheme finally. Don't look at the mark scheme, just looking at the question, then looking at the mark scheme, then solving. This is not good technique. This is not good way of developing understanding of physics. So look at question, try one time. If your answer is not correct, try again and try to figure out where you are making mistakes, and keep record of those mistakes or those misconceptions. Physics is all about clear understanding and misconceptions. The way we develop understanding of physics, we try to reduce misconceptions. When you minimize misconceptions in physics, you have clear understanding of physics. So it's very good to do questions, try more than one time, and try to figure out your own misconceptions and make a list of those misconceptions and try to avoid them in future. If you follow these two suggestions, means try to understand the logic behind derivations and do questions by yourself and make a list of misconceptions, you will see a big change and you will start loving physics. Physics is just about logic. And if you want to think a little bit more about physics concepts are closely related to human behavior. And also if you try to relate them with human behavior, it will give you very clear understanding and it will help you to see the real applications of physics. I hope these points will help you to improve your understanding, and if these things help you to improve your understanding, please leave some comments so I can see how this method is helping you to improve your understanding of physics. Question 14 says a hinge trapdoor is held closed in the horizontal position by a cable. Three forces act on the trapdoor: the weight W of the door, the tension T in the cable, and force H at the hinge. Which list gives the three forces in increasing order of magnitude? This is a typical question. You will see this question in many past papers, so understanding of this one is very important. So first of all, the first step we can do is we can resolve forces into components. So we can resolve into horizontal and vertical component. So this is vertical component of tension and this one is horizontal component of tension. We can repeat the same process for hinge force as well. And this has two components. One is vertical component and one is horizontal component. We can label these components first of all. So we can say this one is Ty and this one is Tx. Then this component is Hx and this Hy, because this is vertical component. So this one is Hx and this one we can label Hy, because this is vertical component. So we can say this one is Hy. Now if you look at these forces along vertical, we can simply see Ty should be equal to W plus Hy. So from here we can say W should be equal to Ty minus Hy. So it means Ty is greater than W. So we can say Ty is greater than W. We can also say T is greater than W. So this is the first result we can get from these forces, mean by comparing these forces. Now if you look at given options, so T has to be greater than W means T has to be on the right side. That this is not on the right side, so this is telling us that T is smaller than W, so this is incorrect. And if you look at this option, this is also telling us that W is greater than T, so this is also incorrect. Now we have two options, C and D, so we need to compare H and W. In order to compare H and W, we can take moment about this point. So this point and this point is about halfway, mean distance from this pivot, for example, to this point, and distance from this pivot to this point is almost same. So what does it mean? So it means moment due to this one will be counterclockwise, moment due to this one will be clockwise about this point, and this point is about halfway. So we can say Hy times, we can say this distance, for example, we can label this distance is d1, we can say this distance is d2, so we can say Hy times d1, this has to be equal to W times d2. As in this case, d1 is about equal to d2, it means that Hy is about equal to W. Hy is about equal to W. So how about H now? H has two components. So H has two components, that is Hy square plus Hx square. So this is H, but W is equal to only vertical component. So from here we can say H is greater than W. So this is the second result you can find by comparing forces. Now if you look at given options, so W has to be the smallest, so we can say W should be smaller than H, H should be smaller than T. So this is the final result. So it means we should have W first, then we should have H, then we should have T. So this should be the order, increasing order. Magnitude is increasing in this direction. So C is the best answer. So moment, we can use concept of moment because it's hard to compare the magnitude of forces directly. So we can use the concept of moment. By comparing, we can find out. As this beam is in equilibrium, it means that net moment about any point is equal to 0 and net force in any direction has to be equal to 0. I hope this question makes sense, and if these videos are helping you, please like and subscribe because your encouragement is very important. And if you're looking for more resources, You can also join Patreon. On Patreon, I can help you one-to-one. So based on your needs, based on your level of understanding of physics, I can provide you resources. So that can be a great platform for you to improve your understanding of physics. If you're struggling with physics, give one try on Patreon. Join Patreon and see a big change in your understanding of physics. Question 15 says, what is definition of force? Force in physics we define F is equal to delta P over delta T, means rate of change of momentum. So we can also say that this is delta times mv divided by delta T, rate of change of momentum. So mass can change, velocity can change. Now if you look at given options, option A says the product of mass and acceleration. This is telling us F is equal to ma, but this is based on one assumption, means mass is constant. We can only use this one if mass is constant. So this is based on assumption, so this is not definition of force. So option A is incorrect. Option B says the product of mass and velocity. So this is telling us P is equal to mv. This is momentum, so this is also not force. The rate of change of momentum, so this is definition of force. The rate of transfer of energy, this is not force. Question 16 says a boat moves at a constant velocity v through still water. A constant drag force F acts on the boat. What is the power used by the boat to move through the water? So first of all, simply we can imagine this one is boat and there is a drag force on the boat. So we can draw this arrow to represent drag force, that is equal to F, and this has velocity v, and this is moving at constant velocity. It means the thrust force is also equal to F. Now we can find out the power used by the boat. That has to be the product of force and velocity. So the answer for this question should be B. Question 17 says the diagram shows four forces acting on a circular disc. Each force has magnitude F. Two of the forces act vertically and other two forces act horizontally. All four forces act in the same plane as the disc. No other forces act on the disc. The disc has diameter small d, which statement is correct. Now if you look at this given disc, we have four forces, and if you look at forces along horizontal direction, we can see we have one force along horizontal, we have another force. They have the same magnitude, so the F net along horizontal, this one is equal to 0. And now if you look at forces along vertical, means along vertical direction, we can also say this one along horizontal, this is along vertical. We have two forces, one is up, one is down. They have the same magnitude, so F net is also equal to 0. So we can simply say in this case F net on the disk, this is equal to 0, because no net force along horizontal, no net force along vertical, it means net force is equal to 0. Now we need to look at the moment. Due to these two forces, first of all, we have these two horizontal forces. So here we have two horizontal forces, and this distance between them is equal to t. And these two forces, they form a couple because they have the same magnitude of force. They are acting in opposite direction, so they form a couple. And moment due to these two forces, this moment will be clockwise. So this moment will be clockwise. So we can say along horizontal, we have clockwise moment. So we can say clockwise moment, that will be equal to one force times the distance between two forces. So clockwise moment we have Ft along horizontal. Now we can look at forces along vertical, and the distance between these two forces, the separation between these two forces, this is also t. And the moment due to this force will be clockwise, and due to this one also will be clockwise. So we can say along vertical moment is also clockwise, and that is equal to Ft. So we can say net moment in this case, net moment is equal to 2Ft, because Fd plus Ft. And this moment is clockwise, this is clockwise, this is also clockwise. As there is a net moment, it means this is not in equilibrium. So we can conclude from here, not in equilibrium. not in equilibrium. Means this disk is not in equilibrium, not in static equilibrium. Now if you look at given option, first of all, in equilibrium, this is incorrect. Not in equilibrium because the resultant force is 4F. This one is incorrect. Resultant force is 0. So this option is incorrect. This option is also incorrect. The disk is in equilibrium. Incorrect. The disk is not in equilibrium. This part is correct because the resultant torque is 2Ft. This is 2Ft. So the answer for this question should be D, and this is also incorrect. So this is a way you can answer. This question is about equilibrium. So we need to look at forces. Net force means the forces in all directions. Net force should be 0, and moment about any point also has to be equal to 0. Question 18 says a ball is projected into the air from horizontal ground and follows the path shown in the diagram. At points Q, R, S and T, the ball has kinetic energy E sub Q, E sub R, E sub S and E sub T respectively. The heights above the ground of these 4 points are shown. Air resistance is negligible. Which difference in kinetic energies is the smallest? So for this question, if we take this line as our reference line, so here we are taking reference line, and at this point EP means the GPE, this is equal to 0, mean potential energy, gravitational potential energy at this point is equal to 0. So it means that at any point above this one, ET, this will be equal to EP means the potential energy plus EK, and total kinetic energy is equal to the total energy. Means at this point total energy is equal to kinetic energy because potential energy at this point is equal to 0. And as the ball is moving up, ball is gaining GPE and ball is losing KE. As this total energy is constant, means E total, this is constant. So if this energy is increasing, it means this energy is decreasing. So it also means that the change in GPE, this one has to be equal to change in KE. So if the change in GPE is smallest, it means change in KE also is the smallest. So simply we need to look at change in GPE. This height is 1.5 and this height is 1.6. So what is the difference between these two heights? Delta H is equal to 0.1 meter. And this difference in height is the smallest. So it means that the difference in kinetic energy at this point and difference in kinetic energy at this point, that is the smallest. So the answer for this question has to be EQ, ES. So we have EQ and this is E sub S. So the answer should be A. So this is how you can answer this one. Simply you need to understand total energy at any point is constant. So if kinetic energy, let's say, decrease by 1 joule, potential energy will increase by 1 joule, and vice versa is also true. So using this understanding, we can answer the question. So the answer for this question should be A. Question 19 says the battery of a small tablet computer is initially uncharged. It is connected to a constant 10 watts power supply for 2 hours to charge the battery. The efficiency of the charging process is 80%. What is the total energy stored in the battery? So first of all, we can calculate input energy. This is from the power supply. We have 10 watts power multiplied by time 2 hours. 1 hour has 60 minutes and 60 seconds. So the energy we will get in joules. And efficiency of charging process is given, that is 80%. So we can calculate E out, and E out is the energy stored in the battery, energy stored in the battery. So this is equal to E out, energy stored in the battery. Efficiency simply is equal to E out, useful output energy. So E out useful divided by E in, and this is the useful energy. So we can also say this one is useful, means the energy stored in the battery. We need to find out E out. So this is E out. simply this will be equal to the efficiency times E in. So here we have E in. Efficiency is 80%, means 0.80 of input energy. 10 times 2 times 60 times 60. So if we solve this one, we will get about 5.8 times 10 to 4 joules. So this is energy stored in the battery. Pretty straightforward question. Just simply you need to understand efficiency. If we write down, this is percentage efficiency, this one has to be equal to E useful over E in multiplied by 100%. So if we are talking about percentage efficiency, so this is very important one, useful energy output. So we can find the answer. So the answer for this one should be C. Question 20 says, an initially stationary firework explodes and splits into two fragments that move horizontally in opposite directions. The total kinetic energy transferred to the fragments by the explosion is capital E. One fragment has mass m and the other one has mass 2m. What is the speed of the fragment of mass m immediately after the explosion? This question is about conservation of momentum. So first of all, simply we can try to sketch. Imagine that this one is the firework. Initially this one is at rest, so its initial momentum is equal to 0. And after explosion, it's split into two fragments. Let's say one has mass m and the other one has mass 2m. And these two, they move in opposite directions. So they move in opposite directions. Let's say momentum of this one is p. Momentum of this one also has to be p, because the final momentum also has to be equal to 0. So these two, they have the same momentum, because this is an isolated system. There is no net external force acting on the system. So momentum of the system should remain constant. So from here we can conclude they have the same momentum. This is the main concept. Now it is given to us that the total kinetic energy given to the fragments is equal to E. So we can say the kinetic energy of one ek1 plus kinetic energy of the second fragment is equal to capital E. And kinetic energy we can write down in this form, ek, this is equal to p squared divided by 2m. If you don't understand this formula is very important to answer tricky question. We can derive this formula quickly as well. P is equal to mv. From here we can say v is equal to p divided by m. Then we can write down kinetic energy. This is equal to 1/2 mv square. So we can say this is 1/2. Here we have m. So we have v square. So this is p square divided by m square. So this m we can cancel with this m. So we will get in this case p square divided by 2m. So this is how we can derive. Now we will be using this one here. And so we have p square divided by 2. What is the mass of fragment 1? That is m. And the second one, p square divided by 2. What is the mass of the second one? That is 2m. And this has to be equal to E. So we can say this one, let's say this energy, this is equal to ek1. So how about this one now? So we can say this one is ek1. So how about this? So here we have p square divided by 4m. So it means this one is ek1 by 2. So this is equal to E. I hope this makes sense. Means we have written p square divided by, we have 2 and here we have 2m, and this one, this is equal to ek1. So we can say this is ek1 divided by 2. So this is how we got this ek1 by 2. So from here we can say now this side, if we add these two together, we will get 2 plus 1, so we will get 3 by 2 ek1. This is equal to E. So from here we can say ek1, this will be equal to 2E divided by 3. So this is the kinetic energy of fragment 1. We need to find the speed. So we can say 1/2 mv square, means for fragment 1, this is equal to 2E divided by 3. We need value of v. So we can write down these two. If we multiply with 2 here, we have to multiply here as well, so we will get this is 4e, and if we divide by mass on both sides, we will get mass here, so this is the mass. So this is v square, but we need value of v, so simply we need to take the root of this one. So finally we can say v has to be equal to 4e divided by 3m, so the root of this one. So this is our final answer. So this is final answer. Now if you look at given options, 4e by 3m, so this one is the answer. I have done this question in detail, but if you have clear understanding, simply you can start with this one here. Writing formulae, find value of ek1, and then use the formula for kinetic energy 1/2 mv square. You will be able to find the value of v. I hope this question makes sense to you. And if this question is clear to you, and if these videos are helping you to improve your understanding of physics, please like and subscribe, and also leave some comments in comment sections. And also if you have any questions, leave your questions in comments. And if you're looking for more resources, join Patreon. See you in next video. Welcome to A-Level and EP Physics. In today's lesson, we will discuss past paper questions from March 2024, Paper 1, Variant 2. As always we do, we will discuss these questions in detail so you can improve your conceptual understanding of physics, and also you can have better understanding of these exam questions. In order to get maximum benefit from these videos, always pause the video, do question by yourself, and then look at the solution. And if you have any doubts, if you have any questions, please leave your questions in comments, and I will try to answer as soon as possible. Let's study together, let's improve together. Question 21 says a spring is fixed at one end and extended by applying force F to the other end. The spring has extension X and elastic potential energy EP. The spring constant is K. The spring obeys Hooke's law. Which relationship is correct for this spring? So first of all, simply we can sketch this one because it's very important to visualize. So simply we can sketch this one is the spring. So this is spring, and then we apply force F on this spring, and when we apply force F on the spring, this spring extended. So simply we can say it extended, and this is value of X, so this is value of extension, so this is given to us X. Then elastic potential energy stored in this spring is EP. We need to find the relationship between EP and X. So we need to understand EP, this is equal to 1/2 kx square. 1/2 kx square, so in this case you can see this is constant. So simply we can say EP is directly proportional to x square. So this is relationship between X and EP. So the answer for this question should be D. Let me explain you a little bit about this one, how we derive this formula. EP is equal to the work done on the spring, and work done is equal to the average force time the distance traveled, mean that is X. Distance traveled in this case is X, means spring is extended by this amount. Average force in this case will be equal to the maximum value of the force plus 0 divided by 2 and multiply by X. This is extension. F max is equal to F, so this is F divided by 2 times X. But F is equal to by Hooke's law, F is equal to Kx. So simply we can replace F with Kx. So here we have K times X, and here we have X. This is divided by 2, so we will have K times X squared divided by 2. So this is EPE, elastic potential energy. Most of the time students, they understand this formula that EP is equal to 1/2 Fx, but they don't exactly understand the meaning of this force. This is the maximum force. So F is representing the maximum force on the spring. When we extend the spring, force is not constant. So F is the maximum force. Question 22 says a force extension graph is produced for a metal wire. What must describe the limit of proportionality of the wire? So first of all, we need to understand what is limit of proportionality. Limit of proportionality means that end of proportionality. Until that point, two quantities, they are proportional to each other. After that point, they are not proportional. So that point we will say is limit of proportionality. End of proportionality means until that point two quantities are proportional, after that they are not proportional. Let's try to understand this one with the help of simple graph. So imagine that we have force on y-axis and let's say we have extension on x-axis. So if we sketch the graph, the shape of the graph should be somewhat like this. Until this point, two quantities are proportional. After that, shape of the graph may be like this. So this point, until two quantities are proportional, we will say this is limit of proportionality. And until this point, Hooke's law is obeyed. So we can also say Hooke's law is obeyed. So we can say in this region, Hooke's law is obeyed, and in this region, Hooke's law is not obeyed. Now if you look at given options, option A says the point at which the wire breaks. This is the breaking point, or we can say this is fracture point. So this is not correct option. So this is incorrect. Point beyond which Hooke's law is not obeyed means after that Hooke's law is not obeyed. So this point is limit of proportionality. The point beyond which the wire cannot return to its original length. And after that point, wire will deform plastically. We call that point is end of elasticity, means elastic limit. So that is elastic limit. So this is not possible answer. The point beyond which the wire starts to deform plastically, this is also elastic limit. Mean before that it is behaving elastically, after that point it starts behaving plastically. So that point is also elastic limit. So this is limit of proportionality. So let me write on here for your better understanding. So this is limit of proportionality. So this is, and this is another way to say is elastic limit as well. So this is elastic limit as well. Until that point it is behaving elastically, after that it is behaving plastically. So the answer for this one has to be B. I hope this makes sense. If these videos are making sense and helping you to improve, so please like and subscribe and also share with your friends, because your encouragement play a very important role to make new videos. Question 23 says a spring has a spring constant of 6.0 newtons per centimeter. It is joined to another spring whose spring constant is 4.0 newtons per centimeter. A load of 80 newtons is suspended from this composite spring. What is the extension of this composite spring? Very nice question on springs. First thing we need to understand, the force here we have means the load we have here, the same force as this spring is a massless spring. Our assumption is that springs are massless, so it means that force on this spring also is equal to 80 newtons. So let's say extension of this spring is x1, extension of this spring is x2. So total extension, so we can say total extension, that one has to be equal to x1 plus x2. You can also treat these two springs individually. You can simply imagine we have spring 1, force on this spring here. This force is 80 newtons and spring constant of this one is given, that is 6.0 newtons per centimeter. And the second spring we can also treat separately. We can simply imagine this is second spring, force on this one is also 80 newtons and spring constant of this one is 4.0 newtons per centimeter. So we can calculate extension of this one. We can say this is spring 1 and this one is the second spring. We can calculate extension of this one, that will be x1. So x1 will be equal to force divided by spring constant, that is 6.0 newtons per centimeter. So this is in newtons. For the second spring, the force is the same. So this is 80 newtons and spring constant is 4.0 newtons per centimeter. So in this case, you can see newtons will be cancelled and we will get only centimeters. So if we solve this one, we will get 13.3 centimeters here, and here we will get 20 centimeters. So the final total extension, this will be equal to 33.3 centimeters. So this is our final answer. So this is how you can approach. You need to understand the concept, you need to understand the logic. So simply you can treat them two individual springs, you can calculate the extensions, then simply add them and you can find the total extension. So the answer for this question should be D. Question 24 says the range of frequencies of sound waves emitted by blue whales is 10 Hz to 40 Hz. The speed of sound in seawater is approximately 1.5 kilometers per second. What is the approximate range of wavelengths of the sound waves emitted by blue whales? Range of wavelengths. So first of all, we can simply write down here for 10 Hz. So we can write down here for 10 Hz. For 10 Hz frequency, we can find out value of lambda, that will be equal to V divided by F. And value of V we have, that is 1.5 kilometers. It means this is equal to 1500 meters per second divided by 10. So we will get this is 150 meters. For F equal to 40 Hz, we can also calculate value of lambda, that will be equal to 1500 divided by 40. So this 0 we can cancel with this one. So 150, if we divide by 4, we will get 37.5 meters. So this is value of lambda for this frequency. And here we have lambda for 10 Hz. So the answer for this question is 38 meters to 150 meters. Simply you need to use lambda is equal to V divided by F. Question 25 says a sound wave is detected by a microphone and displayed on the screen of a cathode ray oscilloscope. The frequency of the wave is 2.5 kilohertz. What is the setting on the time base of the CRO? So first of all, we have frequency that is equal to 2.5 kilohertz. We can calculate time period, that will be equal to 1 over frequency. So this is 1 divided by 2.5 times 10 to 3 hertz. If we solve this one, we will get 0.4 times 10 to minus 3, or we can say this will be equal to 4.0 times 10 to minus 4 seconds. Now we need to determine time base setting. Time base setting simply is equal to time period divided by reading on CRO. So the reading on CRO, we can see here, this is 1 centimeter. So we have, first of all, this is 1 centimeter and we have another centimeter, we have another centimeter, and we have another centimeter. So this is the complete wave. So you need to find the length of one complete wave. So you can see this wave start from here. So this is one complete wave, and this is equal to 4 centimeters. So we can say this is 4 centimeters, and here we have 4.0 times 10 to minus 4 seconds, and this is divided by 4 centimeters. So this 4 we can cancel with this 4. So simply time base setting is 10 to minus 4 seconds per centimeter. Mean 1 centimeter is representing 10 to minus 4 seconds. We can also write down this one, 10 to minus 1 times 10 to minus 3 seconds per centimeter. So it means we can write down this one 0.1 millisecond, milliseconds. So if you look at given options, option A is correct. So this is the right answer. If you have any questions, You can leave questions in the comments, and if these videos are helping you, please like and subscribe because your encouragement is very important. And if you're looking for extra resources, you can also join Patreon. Welcome to A-Level and EP Physics. In today's lesson, we will discuss past paper questions from March 2024, Paper 1, Variant 2. As always we do, we will discuss these questions in detail so you can improve your conceptual understanding of physics and also you can have better understanding of these exam questions. Let's study together, let's improve together. Question 26 says, a source of sound waves with constant frequency moves towards a stationary observer. The observer compares the sound waves arriving at the observer position with the waves emitted by the source of sound. What is detected by the observer? So this question is quite straightforward one. So this is simply based on Doppler effect. So we can simply imagine, first of all, we have source. So this is source of sound waves, and this is approaching observer. So we can just imagine observer is standing here. Let's say the frequency of sound emitted by this source is f0 and frequency observed by this observer, let's say that is f1. As in this case, source is approaching, so it means that f1 has to be greater than f0. The speed of sound is same in the same medium for the same type of waves. So it means that if speed is same, frequency increase, so the lambda observed, we can say lambda 1, and here is lambda naught, means the emitted one. So the lambda 1 in this case, this has to be shorter than lambda emitted. So we can say this is lambda emitted by the sound, and this one we can say observed. So this has to be shorter. Now if you look at given options, a decreased frequency, so this is incorrect. No change in frequency, incorrect. The decreased wavelength of the sound waves, yes, this one is correct. No change in wavelength, this is incorrect. So the answer for this question is C. Question 27 says, which type of waves cannot be polarized? So the first thing we need to understand, longitudinal waves cannot be polarized. So we can say longitudinal waves, they cannot be polarized because they oscillate in one plane. So we can say oscillate in one plane, Now if you look at the given options, so radio waves, these are transverse waves, they can be polarized, so this is not answer. Sound waves, they are longitudinal waves, so they cannot be polarized, so the answer is B. Ultraviolet waves, they are transverse waves, they can be polarized, so this is not answer. X-rays, they are also transverse waves, so they can be polarized, so the answer is. Question 28 says, a beam of light with power P has an area of cross section capital A. The amplitude of the light waves in the beam is X. The beam of light is then changed to one with the same frequency but with an increased amplitude of 4x, and area of cross section reduced to A by 3. What is the power of the new beam? What is the power of the new beam? So first of all, we need to understand that intensity is equal to K times A square, amplitude square. So frequency is constant, other variables are constant, so intensity is equal to K times A square. And intensity is also equal to power over cross-sectional area. So this one is amplitude. This A is representing amplitude. We can say AMP. So this is amplitude and this one is cross-sectional area. From here we can say that power is equal to intensity times cross-sectional area. Now we can write down this one. Power, this is equal to K times amplitude square. X is the amplitude, so this is X. Amplitude square times A. Now if X increase 4 times, it means power will increase by 16 times. Then area decreases by 3, it means power will decrease by 3. So simply P new we can write on here. So this is one way to answer this question. So we can say P new, this one will be equal to 16 times of original P divided by 3. So this is one way. If you understood this one, is very nice. If it is not clear to you how we got this answer, let me explain you this one little bit in detail. So if we solve this one, in this case our final answer will be equal to 5.3p. Now let me explain you this one little bit in detail how we got this answer. From this relationship we can write down p over x square times a, this is equal to k. It means that P original divided by x square times a, this has to be equal to P new divided by x new, mean new value of amplitude squared times a new. So these are the points you need to understand. From here you can see now this is P naught, so simply I can say this one is P. This is divided by x squared times a, and here is P new. We need to find a value of P new. X new is 4x, so this is 4x square, and new area is a by 3. So from here we can simplify, we can say P divided by x square times a, and here we have P new, here we will get 16 x square. Actually I'm writing all the steps so you can develop your understanding. So we can cancel this x square with this one, and this a we can cancel with this. So simply now you can see here P new, this is equal to 16 divided by 3 times P. So this is the final answer. So this is how you can answer this question. In the exam you no need to do all these steps. Simply if you have understanding of this part you can find the answer. So if amplitude increases 4 times, it means power will increase by 16 times. If area decreases by 3 times, it means power will decrease by 3 times. So it means 16 divided by 3. So this is the answer. I hope this makes sense to you, and if you have any questions, please leave your questions in comments. And if these videos are helping you, like and subscribe, and also share with your friends. Question 29 says two loudspeakers are connected to the same signal generator. The signal generator produces a single frequency. The loudspeakers face each other so that a stationary sound wave is set up in the region between the loudspeakers. A microphone is connected to the CRO and positioned between the two loudspeakers. The microphone is moved along a line joining the two loudspeakers. The signal on the CRO shows 5 maximum amplitudes as the microphone moves. The microphone moves a distance of 2.0 meters from the position that gives the first maximum to the position that gives the 5th maximum. So it is given to us, it is starting from the first maximum, start from here, and it ends at 5th maximum. What is the wavelength of the sound wave? So we have first maximum, then we have 4 more maximum. So it means that distance is equal to 2 times of wavelength. So the wavelength should be 1.0 meter. Let me explain you this one with the help of figures so you can see actually what is happening. So in this case we started loudspeaker from first maximum. So this is the first maximum, and here we have, this is the second maximum, and here we have third maximum, and here we have 4th maximum, and here we have, this is 5th maximum. And the distance between two consecutive maximum, this is lambda by 2. So this distance is lambda by 2, this distance is also lambda by 2, this distance is lambda by 2, and this distance is also lambda by 2. And for this question it is given to us the total distance between first and the 5th maximum, that is equal to 2.0 meters. So we can say this is equal to 2.0 meters. So in this case d is equal to 4 times lambda by 2. So this is equal to 2 times of lambda, and d is equal to 2.0. So we have lambda, that will be equal to 1.0 meter. So the answer for this question is D. So understanding of question is very important. Maybe some of you will not be able to answer this question. The main reason will be you haven't understood the statement of the question. So this is telling you start from the first maximum. So we are starting from the first maximum and end at the fifth maximum. So this is our starting and this is our ending. So we have 5 maxima. Question 30 says two wave sources emit coherent waves. Which condition must be correct for the coherent waves? For coherent waves, we need to understand they should have constant phase difference. So this is the main condition. They should have constant phase difference, meaning the phase difference between two waves with time should not change. And that is of course only possible if they have the same frequency. So constant phase difference is the must condition for coherent waves. Now if you look at given option, the waves are emitted in phase is not the answer. If waves are emitted in phase and they have different frequencies, so they cannot be in phase all the time. So there will be no constant phase difference. So this is not condition for coherent waves. The waves are emitted and move in opposite direction. This is also not condition for, this will not make two waves coherent, means the phase difference between waves will not stay constant. So this is also not the answer. The waves are emitted with a constant phase difference. So they have constant phase difference. So this is condition for coherent waves. The waves are emitted with the same amplitude. This is not condition for coherent waves. So the answer is C, and this question is very common. You need to understand coherent waves must have constant phase difference. Question 31 says a student sets up an experiment to investigate double slit interference. The student uses light of a single wavelength from a laser to illuminate a double slit so that a pattern of interference fringes is observed on the screen. The student finds that fringes are very close together. What could the student decrease in order to increase the separation of the fringes on the screen? So the first thing we need to understand, here we are talking about double slit experiment, and for double slit experiment we can write on Ax, this is equal to lambda times capital T. A is in this case equal to R and Q is equal to capital T, and X is fringe separation. So simply we can write on X is equal to lambda times capital D divided by A. So we can say lambda times Q divided by R. So what we can decrease, so X increase. So in order to increase X, we have to decrease R. We can also increase X by increasing Q, but question is asking us what can be decreased. So if we decrease R, it means X will increase. So if you look at given options, the distance P from the laser to the double slit, if we decrease this distance, it has no effect. The distance Q from the double slit to the screen, if we decrease Q, it means X will decrease. So if we decrease this one, this will decrease. So this is also not possible answer. The separation R of the slit, so if we decrease this one, X will increase. So this is the answer. The wavelength of the light from the laser, so if we decrease the wavelength, this will also decrease. So this is also not possible answer. Question 32 says what are the definitions of potential difference and electromotive force in terms of energy transfer W and charge Q? So we need to understand EMF is equal to amount of other form of energy converted into electrical energy per unit charge. So simply we can say this is the energy transferred per unit charge. So we can write down, so this is energy transferred from chemical to electrical per unit charge, energy transfer per unit charge. So this is representing EMF. So energy transfer is given to us, that is W, and charge is Q. So this is W by Q. And PD is the amount of electrical energy converted into thermal energy or into other forms of energy per unit charge. So we can also say this is also W over Q. So the answer for this question has to be A. Question says the diagram shows a network consisting of three resistors. What is the combined resistance of the network between terminal X and Y? Means between this point and between this point. So first of all, we need to understand this resistance is 2.2 kilo ohms. So the total resistance cannot be lower than 2.2 kilo ohms. It means A is not possible, B is not possible. Now if you look at this combination, mean these two resistors connected in parallel, we need to understand when resistors are connected in parallel, the total resistance is lower than the smallest resistor in parallel. So we can look at this one. So the R total for parallel, it has to be lower than 1.2 kilo ohms. So it means that this cannot be the answer because this value is too high. So the answer for this question has to be C. So if you have clear understanding of physics, clear understanding of concepts, simply you can look at the question, you can find the possible answer without calculations. Now let's try to do this one step by step. So we have R total, that has to be equal to 2.2 plus this resistance, mean the effective resistance of these two resistors in parallel. So simply we can say this will be 1.2 times 4.7 divided by 4.7 plus 1.2. So if we solve this one, you will get here 2.2 and here you will get about 2.9. So the final answer will be about 3.1 kilo ohms. So this is final answer. So this is the answer. Question 34 says a resistor dissipates 25 watts of power when there is a potential difference of 4.0 volts across it. What is the resistance of the resistor? So first of all, simply we can imagine we have a resistor. So this is the resistor. Resistance of this one is capital R, and power dissipated by this resistor is equal to 25 watts. And PD across this one, if we connect voltmeter across this, PD across this one is equal to 4.0 volts. Question is asking us to find out what is value of resistance. So simply we need to understand P is equal to V squared divided by R. So from here we can say R, this will be equal to V squared divided by P. V is equal to 4.0, so this is 4 squared divided by 25. And now if we solve this one, so this is 25. If we solve this one, we will get 0.64 ohms. So the answer for this question is B. Question 35 says the diagram shows a cell with the internal resistance connected in parallel with a fixed resistor and a variable resistor. The resistance of the variable resistor is decreased. What happens to the potential difference V across the variable resistor and current I in the variable resistor? So we can simply say, first of all, this is R, this one is R1, this is R2. So we need to understand, as these two resistors, they are connected in parallel. So the PD across these two resistors is the same. Now we need to understand what is the effect of decrease in R2 on the total resistance of this combination. So in this case, R total will decrease. We can understand this one with the help of equation. Let's say R is the total resistance of this combination. So we can say 1 over R will be equal to 1 over R1 plus 1 over R2. So if this value decrease, it means overall this will increase, but this remains constant. So it means 1 over R overall increases. If 1 over R increases, it means R decreases. So we can say R will decrease. Now we can replace this circuit with a different one. So with equivalent circuit we can replace this one. So this is 1 over R, and these two resistors we can replace with one single resistor. So this is one single resistor, and this resistance is capital R. As capital R decreases, it means that current in the circuit will increase because EMF will be equal to I times R plus capital R. So we can say I will be equal to EMF divided by small r plus capital R. If this go down, this value has to go up. So current in the circuit will increase. Now if you look at PD across this one, let's say the PD across this one is V, and PD across this one we can say V lost. So we can also write down EMF will be equal to V lost plus V. And V lost is I times small r, and V is I times capital R. As in this case, I increases, R is constant, it means V lost increases. If V lost increases, it means V has to decrease. So the V decreases. So in this case, this V will decrease. And current in this case, current in the circuit increases. So the current passing through this one also will increase. Current passing through this one will also increase. So it means that answer for this question should be B, because V decreases, I increases, but they do not decrease and increase by the same amount. So I should increase. So the answer for this question is B. Let's try to understand a little bit more, especially about current. Why current increase means why this current I increase. In order to answer this one, we can simply say, let's say current passing through this one. Let's say this current is I1 and this current is I. And total current, let's say this current total, this one is I0. Now we have already discussed V decreases. So the V across this one decreases. So we can say V is equal to I1 times R. R is fixed. V decreases. It means I1 decreases. Means current passing through this resistor decreases. So how about current passing through this resistor? So the remaining current means here we have I, this one has to be equal to I0 minus I1. As I1 decreases and this current increases, so this one is I1. This current increases, this current decreases. How about I? This has to increase. So that's the reason we have chosen current increases. So this value of I has to increase. I hope this makes sense to you. If it is still not clear, leave your questions in comments, and if these videos are helping you, like and subscribe. And if you're looking for more resources and one-to-one help, join Patreon. On Patreon, you will see a lot of resources. Question 36 says, a radioactive source produces a beam of alpha particles in a vacuum. The average current caused by the alpha particles in the beam is 1.5 times 10 to minus 9 amperes. The beam is incident on a metal target. What is the average number of alpha particles hitting the metal target in a time of 3.0 seconds? So we have current, we have given time, so we can find out the total charge. So simply we can say in this case Q will be equal to I times D, and Q we can say this is equal to N times small q. Small q is the charge on single alpha particle. So we can say I times T. So we need to find out value of N, number of alpha particles, average number of alpha particles. So we have I times T divided by Q. I is equal to 1.5 times 10 to minus 9 amperes, and time is 3 seconds, 3.0 seconds, and the charge on one alpha particle is 2 times of the charge on single electron. 2 times 1.6 times 10 to minus 19 coulombs. And if we solve this one, in this case we will get 1.4 times 10 to 10. So these number of alpha particles will hit the metal target in a time of 3 seconds. So this is our answer. So the answer should be C. So C is the right answer. Question 37 says the charge carriers in a metal wire are free electrons. Which statement about the charge of each free electron is correct? The magnitude of the charge increases with the potential difference across the wire. It does not depend on potential difference, because charge is intrinsic property of electron. The magnitude of the charge is 0 unless there is potential difference across the wire. The charge on electron is the same. There is PD or there is no PD. So this statement is also incorrect. The sign and magnitude of the charge do not depend on the potential difference. So this statement is correct. The sign of the charge depends on the potential difference across the wire. This statement is also incorrect. So the answer for this question is C. Question 38 says, which flavors of quark have charge plus 2 by 3e? So we need to understand top quark, charm quark, and up quark. They have charge plus 2 by 3e. So they have charge plus 2 by 3e. And bottom quark, so this is something you need to remember, or you need to understand this one. Bottom strange quark and down quark, they have same charge. They have charge minus 1 over 3e. Now if you look at given options, charm quark, it has charge plus 2 by 3. This is correct. Strange, this is incorrect. Top quark, it has charge plus 2 by 3, so this is correct. Bottom has no, so this is also correct actually. So this is also correct because it doesn't have charge plus 2 by 3e. So the answer for this question should be A. This one is right, this one is right, but this one is incorrect. This one is right, so this is not answer. This one is incorrect, this one is incorrect, this one is correct, but this is incorrect. So this is also not answer. This is incorrect, this one is incorrect, this one is incorrect, this one is also incorrect. So this is also not answer. So this is the main concept you need to understand. Question 39 says, an unstable nucleus of an element decays by emitting an alpha particle or a beta minus particle to become a nucleus of a different element. The nucleus is also unstable and emits an alpha particle or a beta minus particle. This process continues until an isotope of the original element is produced. So this is important point. Isotope of the original element is produced. It means proton number is the same. So what is the minimum possible number of these particles emitted? Minimum possible number of particles emitted means alpha particle and beta minus particles. So first of all, we can simply imagine we have nucleus X, it has atomic number Z, and it has mass number A. If it emits one alpha particle, so we can say this is new nucleus. If it emits one alpha particle, so let's say this is alpha particle, so its atomic number will decrease by 2, but its mass number will remain same. Now this one decreases by 2. We have to bring back this one to Z. So it means that beta minus particle. So if beta minus 2 beta particles are emitted, so this one should be plus 2. So in this case, how many particles are emitted? We have one alpha particle and we have 2 beta minus particles. So total 3 number of particles are emitted. Minimum possible. So this is minimum possible number. It can be more than that, but we are talking about here minimum possible number of particles emitted. So the answer for this question is B. Question 40 says, a nucleus of carbon 10 decays by beta emission to form a nucleus of boron 10. For this decay process, what is the change to a nucleon and what is the change in the quark composition of the nucleon? So first of all, simply we can start with carbon 10. So we have carbon 10. This decays into boron 10. And atomic number of boron is 5, as you can see here. And in this case, as proton number decreases, so this one has to be beta plus particle, mean positron. As this is antiparticle, so there must be electron neutrino. So in this case, proton number is decreasing, so it simply means that 6 to 5, so proton becomes neutron, because mass number is same, so we can simply say in this case proton becomes neutron. And proton has 2 up quarks and 1 down quark, and neutron has 1 up quark and 2 down quarks. So it simply means that 1 up quark becomes 1 down quark. So this is the change in the nucleon, and this is the change in quark composition, means up quark becomes down quark. Now if you look at given options, proton to neutron, yes, this is correct. Down to up, no. Proton to neutron, yes. Up to down, yes. So the answer for this one has to be B. Neutron to proton, wrong. Neutron to proton, incorrect. So C, D and A are not possible answers. I hope these questions make better sense. And if these videos are helping, please like and subscribe, and also share with your friends. And if you need more help, you can join Patreon. If you're looking for more resources, you can also join Patreon. And if you have any questions, you can leave your questions in comments, and I will try to answer as soon as possible. See you in next video.